I'd like to call to order the Penn Trafford School District Board meeting for March 13, 2017, and we will start with a pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Not yet. You need one.
Mr. Lago, if you could call roll call, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Mrs. Issing. Here. Mr. Kachasik. Here. Dr. Koshko.
Here.
Mr. Leonard. Here. Mr. Matarazzo. Here. Mr. Newell. Here. Mr. Nemec.
Here.
Mr. Petrucci. Here. Mr. Stovall.
Here.
You have a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Lago.
Welcome.
May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the February 13, 2017 minutes?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Kachasik, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Nemec. Question being called for. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried. And I'll hand the floor over to Dr. Harris for information tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Stovar. We just have one item under information, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Lego.
Yeah, with us tonight, we have Mr. Chris Brewer of Dinsmore Shoal, our bond counsel, and Mr. Tony Massetti, who was here last month, our bond underwriter. We are ready to put the mechanism in place to borrow the money for our capital projects that we're going to undertake. So I'll have Chris give a little bit of an update and explanation and where we're at in the process.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lego. The document that's at your place I set before you ahead of the meeting is a resolution our office has prepared. It's been reviewed by your administration and by your legal counsel. It's in the same kind of form as we've had in the past, where you've been authorizing an indebtedness for a specific purpose in a so-called not-to-exceed amount. That is because we like to get the legislation on the books, have your approval behind us as we continue to look at the market and the opportunities for, finding a good interest rate environment, things like that. So there is two things of note, I suppose, in the resolution. The one is that on page 5, toward the bottom, there's a description of the project being the various and many repairs and renovations and improvements you want to do to the buildings. And it's not all that specific because I think you have a large list of things you hope to get to, and you need to see how far you can get the money to last for you. And then back in section 1101, which is back on page 31, some language that I suppose runs on a little bit, but it has to do with the fact that you're looking for a project financing that your administration will help the investment banker to size, that will get the project accomplished for you as best you can within, good financial considerations and financial interests and levels. And also, we're going to sell these bonds in a so-called bank-qualified basis. Again, we're going to stay under the $10 million annual limits to get you better rates. I think you know that. You're not going to plan to borrow $10 million. In fact, you're not planning to borrow even the $7,500,000 that's in this. That's not right. I think the title of my document's wrong. It should be $8,525,000. The not-to-exceed amount is generated by PNC, and it has to do with the fact that, as we've talked before, we need to allow there to be principal amortization in each and every year that covers more than adequately where the principal will fall. And depending on where rates are, up or down, amortization will vary. So the idea is to target really borrowing, I think, more in a $6 million-ish range or so. That final number we worked out, but it will be within this constraint because every given year we want to make sure we're within the actual final borrowing amount. I apologize. I'm not sure why the cover of my document says 7.5. It should have said 8,525,000. We'll fix that for the record. That's just a between what I thought I handed to my assistant and what she took from me, we had an error there. So 8,525,000 is the actual amount we want to use. Questions for me on the legal document? Mr. Massetti is here. I don't think he has any further updates or studies for you, but he can answer questions certainly, and I'll let him address you.
Just again, to reiterate what Mr. Brewer said about the sizing, we anticipate right now the bond issue to be in the $6.1 to $6.2 million range, and that's in order to fund $6 million worth of capital projects. A little bit of room in there, depending on what interest rates do between now and the time we'll actually go to issuance. And just to update the board, and I apologize if Mr. Lego has already let the board know this. There was the rating interview this morning with Moody's Investor Service, So that will give us about a week until the district's rating is released for this year, for this update for the financing. So right now, everything is moving along and proceeding with the offering document, the other documentation that will support the issuance, as well as the rating. We're now fully engaged and just moving forward. Once the rating is in hand and we know everything else is in place, then we'll be setting the calendar, adjusting the calendar, I should say, for an official pricing or date when the district puts its bonds into the market and is able to lock in the interest rates. So any questions? We'll be glad to field
What was our
those.
bond rating for the last bond issue on this building here?
It was an A1.
That's what I thought.
A1, yes.
It should be similar to that, too. I don't know why it would be any different.
That's exactly right. We're anticipating a rating in the same category at this juncture, especially since all of the district's trends, the management, the active manage from the board and the administration of the district's health, excuse me, has not only improved but been sustained at those upper levels. So we anticipate a rating in that same category.
What was the borrowing amount again? What do we hope to generate?
We're about $6 million in net projects financing. And again, the bond issue to cover that, sizing anywhere from
What time frame
6.1.
would we have to use that $6 million within? How many years, how many months?
3 years.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's the same certification as you had last time, that you're reasonably expecting to be able to spend the money over a 3-year time frame.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question about that, though, Matt. Under the, or actually Brett,
Yes.
under Budget and Finance, it says move to authorize incurring of non-electoral debt by the issuance, and it's at 8.5, though. Not to exceed, but
Right.
if we're expecting 6 million, where's the rest of the money going to?
That's,
There's no rest of the money. The borrowing will come in around the number that Mr. Masitti mentioned. The reason there's $8,525,000 noted in the resolution is when the state allows you to take action in this way, kind of getting the paperwork out of the way, if you will, and looking for that good bond market. Mondays, for example, when you all tend to meet, is not usually a good day to sell bonds. The law requires us to specify a total maximum, specify maximum interest rates as well as principal, and you see 6% in those schedules, which we're hoping to be well under that, but then also to specify maximum principal in each and every year. The reason the states put that in there is because the way the act is written, it talks about your annual appropriations. And so they've always told us as practitioners, you may not exceed in any given year during the course of that financing the maximum principal you specify that year. So, knowing that rate differentials will push more principal out longer or leave more principal up earlier, depending on where rates are and you're trying to amortize, when Tony runs numbers, he has to kind of really assume the worst case all the way through and leave extra principal in every year in the schedule. But that's just a nominal amount. And we specify it that way so that we don't have to come back to you later and say, you know, we had a mistake in the math and now we need to take another action.
What's
something.
typical the percentage of fees, though, slapped on from a, if we're getting 6 million, what percentage of fees do we see in terms of closing and everything else that you see with that?
In the district's cases, I think it's been well under 1% fees all in. You've been probably in the 7% range, so it's been very efficient.
And by the time there is a bond sale, that'll be disclosed, and I don't think any of these communications and decisions are going to happen in a vacuum. I'm sure that Mr. Mercedes is going to be communicating with the administration, and they'll be getting that information out to you.
and if I'm not mistaken, the past several issues we've done have been under the not to exceed. So we've used a much higher number than the actual for the reasons that he just explained.
That's correct. Just to add there, for instance, in the series of 2015, the district actually needed completion financing of about $4.5 million round numbers, and I believe that not to exceed was about $6.5 million when it was when that resolution was adopted.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for our bond team? Okay, thanks, fellas.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Might have had someone from our drama club coming, but if they don't come now, they might come a little bit later. So I reserve the right to interrupt the meeting and call my special guest at a later time. But that's all I have for now.
Okay. It's time for recognitions of visitors. We have a couple people signed up. Sarah and Hunter, I don't think you're going to speak, so well, it's fine. So don't feel left out, but he just wanted to let you know that. So let me just tell you the rules that are in effect here. It's now time for audience recognition. The following rules are in effect. You must state your name, address, and group affiliation, if any. Your statement will be limited to 5 minutes in duration. All statements shall be directed to the president, and no participant may address or question a board member individually. I may interrupt you if your statement is too lengthy, personally direct, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. And the first one we have here is Trent to come up and speak.
Thank you. Last week I was told that the Student Bill of Rights would be prepared for this week. So I'm wondering if the Student Bill of Rights is prepared for this week.
Do you have it? I know Mr. Quo sent you an email for a Wednesday, I think Wednesday night meeting or Wednesday, Thursday afternoon meeting.
I will check. Did it go to my school email?
I think it did. I think I was copied on it.
Yeah, I believe it was. He copied.
Okay, so Wednesday meeting.
I believe it said Wednesday.
Yeah, he's trying to schedule a meeting with you to review it.
Will the other students, like on the student union, be included, like a representative from each
you have to
class?
ask Mr. Aquilio how he wants to handle it.
Okay, sounds good. The only other thing, this is me as a taxpayer, not as a representative of the student union. I see that you're approving roofing projects at Level Green Elementary and Trafford Elementary schools. I'm just wondering if the board is considering selling those properties in the future, why we continue to invest money in them. I don't know if that's just a rumor that's going around that eventually we were planning on selling one of those properties. So.
Good question. There are no plans right now to sell either of those buildings.
Then I would ask
Or close them at this point.
I would ask the board to consider closing one of those buildings. I think that two is unnecessary. And I did come from, I came from both of those buildings. I spent time in Level Green Elementary and then Trafford Middle. So that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Trent. Josiah?
Josiah Watson?
I would like to say I fully support the Student Bill of Rights, and I think a lot of our students here as well do so. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Josiah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. May I have a motion to approve the treasurer's report and the high school extracurricular fund report?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Kachasik.
Second.
Second by Mr. Matarazzo.
Question.
Question being called for. This will be a roll call vote. All in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Motion carried. May I have a motion to approve the payment of bills for the month of March 2017?
Motion.
Motion by Mrs. Issing.
Second.
Second by Mr. Nemec.
Question.
Question being called for. This will be a roll call vote. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried. There is no old business tonight. Prior to the meeting, we held an executive session. What?
Go ahead after this. I think some good are out there.
Okay, we held an executive session, and we discussed personnel matters. We were there to receive legal advice and confidential student matters. We also received information from administration on general matters, or operational matters.
It was a good
You got
time.
them here?
Yep,
they
we had a
ready?
new time. We have Mrs. Haberberger.
Hi, everybody. I would like to invite the Delta News of UCLA into the room.
Delta News, a fraternity that's in the
Dear Al, he's a lucky guy. I'm like gonna cry. I've got tears coming out of my nose. Matt, you're the campus catch. You're a perfect match. Cause you both have such great taste in clothes. Of course you will propose. Dear Al, honey, mazel tov. Future's taken off. Bring that ring back and show it to me. 4 carats, a princess cut. Are you psyched or what? I just wish I could be there to see when he gets out on money. Oh my God, you guys. Looks like hell's gonna win the prize. If there ever was a perfect couple, this one qualifies. Oh my God, you guys. Oh my God, this is happening. Our own homecoming queen and king. Finally, she'll be trying on a huge engagement ring for size. Oh my God, you guys. Oh my God. We are 3 weeks away from opening night, March 31st weekend and April 7th weekend. We hope to see you all there.
Sounds like you're ready.
Thank
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, Mrs. Haber.
Jennifer.
Sad ladies are that quiet and meek.
I want to tell you, Mr. Stover, Jennifer is his classmate. That's her personality.
That's her right there.
I mean, that is definitely her personality.
That's a great show. I mean, I saw the musical last summer, and it is a fantastic show.
I had asked if that's good casting or good acting. She said a little bit of both.
Both. Good instructing, too.
Yeah, I'm sure of that.
Okay, we'll move into new business, athletics and extracurricular. Dr. Costo.
Thank you, Mr. President. We do have a few items tonight. Move to accept the following resignations. Thomas Christ, 9th grade assistant baseball coach, effective immediately. Dave Moya, 9th grade head baseball coach, effective immediately. Karen Scandera, track coach, head Penn Trafford High School, due to retirement, effective end of 2016-17 school year.
Second.
Question?
Second by Mr. Newell. Question being called for. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried.
Move to employ the following personnel for the 2016-17 season. New employment is contingent upon receipt of all necessary documentation and acceptance of Act 34, 151, and 114 waivers from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania within 30 days. Matt Belinsky, track coach assistant, at a salary of $4,446. Thomas Kreis, 9th grade head baseball coach, at a salary of $2,887. Jay Miller, 9th grade assistant baseball coach, at a salary of $1,443.50. And Zachary Susella, 9th grade assistant baseball coach, at a salary of $1,443.50.
Second?
Second by Mrs. Issing.
Question?
Question being called for. This will be a roll call vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried.
And finally, move to approve the following volunteer coaches effective immediately. All coaching volunteers must have Act 34, 151, and 114 waivers on file with the athletic director. David Alexander, volunteer lacrosse coach. Nick Campero, volunteer track field coach. Nick Camporoso, volunteer wrestling coach. Peter Leonetti, volunteer boys volleyball coach. And Sarah Lochner, volunteer track field coach.
Second.
Question?
Second by Mr. Leonard. Question being called for. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried.
And Sarah's out in the audience right now, too, by the way. She's here for later on. You're going to see her name again, but.
Okay, that'll be all, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Costo. Budget and Finance, Mr. Kachasik.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to accept and approve the audited financial statements and single audit for the Penn Trafford School District for the 2015 school year, as submitted by Zelenkovsky, Axelrod LLC. A copy of the audit will be filed in the business office.
Second. Question?
Second by Mr. Newell. Questions being called for. This will be a roll call vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried.
Move to approve the general operating budget for the Westmoreland Intermediate Unit Number 7 for the fiscal year, July 1st, 2017 to June 30th, 2018. The total amount of $5,374,763. The Penn Trafford School District's contribution will be $30,185.17.
Second.
Second by Mr. Leonard.
Question?
Question being called for. This will be a roll call vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried.
Move to authorize the incurring of non-electoral debt by the issuance of general obligation bonds in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $8.525 million to be used for district-wide capital improvements.
Second.
Second by Mr. Nemec.
Question.
Question being called for. This will be a roll call vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried.
I move to approve the following expenditure of the high school renovation project according to schedule as listed. And I do have a question before it gets seconded. Brett or Scott, could you please tell us where we are with the punch list? And is this going to be the remaining payments for the completion of the renovation project at the high school?
The punch list has, there's some outstanding items that are going to be taken care of as soon as the weather breaks, so they're waiting for the weather to hit. There's the contractors, there's a small percentage of their money that's being withheld right now until that punch list is done. So there's approximately, I'm going to say, $250,000 that's still outstanding that still needs to be paid to the project.
And anything left in the contingency fund?
Well, the contingency is pretty well wiped out. Brett and I talked a little bit about that today. There was, we talked a little bit about some of the technology purchases that were made, and I think that there was some, you want to explain that a little better than I don't know. Some of that money was to the high school, but yet it was to the other parts of the district, I think.
Yeah, when we undertook a big computer purchase in connection with the renovation project, we also bought some computers that went throughout the district, and those were charged to the project. They should have went to the general fund. They were charged to the project. So the general fund's going to reimburse the project fund for those purchases, but essentially we are at zero in the fund right now. And keep in mind, we did the level green roof, and we also, not the level green roof, it was the level sunrise roof, and we had to do that SOAR project here.
No, I understand. I just want to make sure that you don't foresee, if the balance is zero now, and we still have items on the punch list, you don't see anything that's going to come up that we might have to take our own general fund balance. If we've used every dollar of the contingency, it gets me a little worried until that punch list is completed. Even if we're holding back money, there could be something uncovered.
Right. I mean, there's a chance that there still might be something that's outstanding, but there's nothing that's significant. I can tell you that the monies that, I think, Brett, correct me if I'm wrong, but the monies that's left over, a lot of that money hasn't been placed against the account yet. So technically, you're showing a positive balance in the construction fund, but that's because some of the monies have not been billed yet, but we know they're coming.
Correct.
There is some issues with low bar. There's a couple change orders that they are challenging, so we have to discuss that further. I did talk with Mr. Brungo's office about that. They are seeking compensation for a couple change orders that the Massaro and the architect have denied. Those change orders are less than $20,000, but we'll see where that goes.
All right, please keep us informed.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we needed a second on that.
Correct.
Second.
Second by Mr. Matarazzo. Questions being called for. This will be a roll call vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried.
That's all I have this evening, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Kachasik.
You're welcome.
Move over to grounds, or buildings and grounds and safety. Mr. Leonard.
Yes, I do have a few action items today, Mr. President. First of all, I'd like to make a motion to approve the rate adjustment for Richard Senkow from $15.20 an hour to $16.90 per hour.
Second.
Second by Mr. Matarazzo. Question being called for. This will be a roll call vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries.
Can I just make a quick explanation on that?
Sure.
When last month, we made Mr. Senkow full-time, and in the motion, it indicated a starting rate salary, but he was currently making $16.90, so the minutes were incorrect. The motion was incorrect last month. We're just correcting his salary to what it was.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to accept the retirement resignation of David Marshall, custodian at Harrison Park Elementary School, effective May 31st, 2017.
Second.
Second by Mr. Nemec. Question being called for. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried.
David would be very missed, very good custodian, very nice guy.
Okay, I'd like to move to approve the following roofing projects. Level Green Elementary School at a cost of $712,490 $9 by Triangle Roofing, and Trafford Middle School at a cost of $787,135 by Toscano Mayor Roofing.
Second.
Second by Mr. Petrucci.
Question.
Question being called for. This will be a roll call vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried.
That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard. Employee Relations, Negotiations, Transportation, Mrs. Issing.
Nothing to report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mrs. Issing. Food Service, Mr. Nemec.
Nothing to report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Nemec. Personnel and Curriculum, Mr. Petrucci.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to approve the additional substitute teaching and support personnel for the month of March 2017.
Second?
Second by Mrs. Issing.
Question.
Question being called for. This will be a roll call vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried.
Move to set the following retirement resignations effective at the end of 2016-17 school year, unless otherwise noted. Patricia Fallon, Cindy Oseski, and Karen Skandera.
Second.
Second by Dr. Costo.
Question.
Question being called for. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried.
Just want to interrupt again. I know Scott was at the high school, was their principal for most of the time, so if you want to say a couple of things about.
Well, those were great teachers. We're going to recognize them at the end of the year, aren't we? For sure.
Recognize them at the end of the year, but it's always
Yeah,
nice.
I just want to make sure. But yeah, Miss Fallon, she was a great chemistry teacher.
It hasn't been cut yet.
Yeah, that's all right. She's a great chemistry teacher for many, many years. In fact, I taught with her for 3 years. She will certainly be missed. Chemistry, it's very hard to find a good chemistry teacher, and she was very good at it. Miss Olszewski, I think she was there about 25 years and dealt with many, many kids over the years, and always had the best interest of kids in mind. And as a counselor, that's what you have to do, and she did a great job with that. Mrs. Skandera, she did a great job in developing our fitness program here, especially the women's fitness program that we have with the fitness center and getting those kids in shape, and really touched a lot of kids, especially some kids that struggle with their weight, got them on some programs and helped them out a lot. So 3 good people that we'll miss.
Like Scott said, all 3 very much we missed, and at the end of the year, we do our retirement ceremony, so they will be back, hopefully. I won't interrupt again, I'm sorry. Number 3, Nick.
I think we're on this. Did we okay that or no?
You okayed it, you're number 3, I'm sorry.
Move to accept the following resignation. Patricia Shisco, paraprofessional, Harrison Park, effective February 21st, 2017, will remain on the sublist.
Second.
Second by Mr. Matarazzo.
Question.
Question.
Question being called for. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried.
Move to approve the following FMLA leave requests. Maria France, FMLA leave from February 21st, 2017 to May 22nd, 2017, unpaid, from May 23rd to 30th, 2017. Brooke Kuchak, FMLA leave from February 28th to April 11th, 2017. Carol Tinsley, intermittent FMLA leave from February 9th, 2017 to February 8th, 2018.
Second.
Second by Mr. Kachasik.
Question.
Question being called for. This will be a roll call vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Motion carried.
Move to put the following professional personnel to teach in the areas of their respective certification as assigned by the administration. Employment is contingent upon the receipt of signed contract no later than Friday, March 17, 2017, and subsequent receipt of all necessary certification documentation and acceptance of Act 34, 151, 114 Waves, Collinsville, Pennsylvania. Sarah Lochner's speech, M1 level step, is $21,608.50. And Hunter Owen, career counselor, M1, $43,217.
Second.
Second by Mr. Matarazzo.
Question.
Question.
Question being called for. This will be a roll call vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried.
Thank you, and just to interrupt again, Nick, I've been doing that a lot lately.
That's all right.
I have both Hunter and Sarah in the audience, and if Sarah, because your name is first, if you can come up to the mic just real quick, and just like to introduce Sarah, is going to be one of our speech teachers, and Greg, do you want to be the supervisor? Direct?
Yeah, so Sarah's work half-time right now for our life skills pull-up.
That's nice
She's
and
right
nice.
now doing the long-term
You know,
sub.
pronounce that one?
She filled in for 2 different people. And next year we're looking for our pull-off programs for life skills.
I graduated from PT in 2010 Can't believe it's been 7 years. But I'm really excited about this opportunity, and I just want to thank you all for the opportunity, and I look forward to working for the district. So thank you.
We look forward to having you, and thank you for also volunteering to help with our track and coach.
Oh, no problem. I love track too, as much as I love speech. I was, yes. I did a little bit of everything.
And then Hunter Owens, I'm sorry. Hunter's going to be taking one of our newer positions, the career counseling position, and that's going to be K to 12, and it's a very new because we're trying to work on our workforce development goal of getting kids internships and job placements and shadowing, and you had a lot of experience with that already. If you want to just take a few minutes.
Sure, yeah. Thanks, everyone, for having me again. Again, my name is Hunter Owen. I'm very excited to take on this position with Penn Trafford School District starting in the new school year. My current background is in career readiness and development for young adults ages 16 to 24. The program that I currently run is funded through the Workforce Investment Board through Westmoreland and Fayette County. So my position is as a career counselor supervisor, so I provide curriculum development that intertwines 21st century skills, soft skills, and work experiences with local employers based on young adults' interest level and their ability. So I've been very fortunate to have this position, and I'm very, very excited to get these skills that I've obtained over the last couple of years into Penn Trafford School District. So beyond that, my wife and I live in Unity Township, and we have our beautiful baby girl, Ella, who's 3 months this week, and I'm really excited to not only continue that family bond, but to start off the new school year with a new position. So, yeah, that's about it.
Thank you so much for.
Sure, thanks, guys.
Good luck.
Welcome aboard.
Where's this?
Okay. Is that all? Okay. Move to employ the following personnel, new employment contingent upon the receipt of all necessary documentation and acceptance of Act 34, 151, 114 Williams, Pennsylvania, within 30 days, as listed.
Second by Mr. Newell.
Question.
Question being called for. This will be a roll call vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried.
Move to approve the following conference request. Steve Benton, National Association of Broadcasting Annual Convention, Las Vegas, from April 23rd to 25th, 2017, at the cost of $1,000 to $1,200 to the district. They will be interviewing him regarding the mock elections.
Second.
Second by Mr. Nemec.
Question.
Question being called for. This will be a roll call vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried.
Thank you for doing that. We also got a lot of positive feedback from the mock elections this past year, and it was something I don't know if I took it for granted because I just saw it. It's like, oh, that's great. I love it. But then once we started getting all these people contacting us, and then they actually made some different magazines and news publications, and he got invited to this, I said, oh, it's excellent. So really like to thank Steve for doing it. And Trent was actually he was actually doing the mock election.
It's really cool. I know New Tech featured us in an article. There was an article in Japanese about so that was really cool seeing it.
Can you tell us a little bit about it?
So during the mock election, we had live election coverage down in the library where we streamed using iPads to the entire school, which is a pretty big deal. Like, it doesn't sound that technical, but it really is because we were switching between a person sitting at an anchor desk and then two different cameras down in the library. We were interviewing students, talking to teachers, and then we would give live updates from the students. And it required us using a lot of different skills, like using a TriCaster or the iPads. Yeah, it was really technical and really fun.
Did you find any indications of voter fraud?
I did not. They were very on top of it there.
No fake news.
Thank you.
We pass that?
Yep, number 8.
Keep it.
Number 8. Number 8, okay.
Yeah, we're number 8.
Move to approve the request of Mr. Jim Rocco to take the Penn Trafford boys basketball team to the Classic Basketball Tournament at the tournament's request in Coral Springs, Florida, from December 14th to 18th. The cost of the district will be $393 for the tournament entry fee and transportation to the airport. And I just wanted to add to this that this is the same way we treat all our other athletic and extracurricular activities. So there's no exception being made.
Second.
Second by Dr. Costo.
Question.
Question being called for. This will be a roll call vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried.
That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Petrucci. Policy, Public Relations, Legislative, Title II, Mr. Matarazzo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move to accept and file the minutes of the Superintendent's Information Committee meeting that was held on Monday, February the 6th of 2017.
Second.
Second by Mr. Leonard.
Question.
Question being called for. This will be a roll call vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried.
I'd also like to move to give final approval to the following board policies and administrative regulations as submitted to the board. Copies of these documents will be made an official part of the board minutes of this meeting. The first policy, the oath of office as school director. The second is a policy on homeless students. The third, policy on educational stability for children in foster care. And last, administrative regulations in reference to records retention schedule.
Second.
Second by Mr. Petrucci.
Question.
Question being called for. This will be a roll call vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried.
I'd also like to move to tentatively approve the following revised board policy and new administrative regulations as submitted to the board. The board policy on subject acceleration, the administrative regulations on guest speaker and assembly, and corresponding forms.
Second.
Second by Mr. Nemec.
Question.
Question being called for. This will be a roll call vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried.
I'm not sure how to do this next one, Mr. President,
I'll do it.
so let someone else.
Move to appoint Mr. James Matarazzo as PSBA voting delegate for the 2017-18 school year.
Second by Mr. Newell.
Question.
Question being called for. This will be a roll call vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried.
I think I should say thank you, but thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome. That's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matarazzo. Taxes, insurance, census, Mr. Newell.
Thank you, Mr. President. One item this evening. Move to exonerate the following tax collectors from collecting said real estate taxes in the amounts indicated remaining on the 2016 tax duplicates. The list of delinquents has been forwarded to the Westmoreland County Tax Claim Bureau for collection, and a list is on file in the school district office. They are listed for Penn and Trafford, Penn Township, Trafford Borough, and Penn Borough below.
Second by Mrs. Issing.
Question.
Question being called for. This will be a roll call vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried.
And that's all I have this evening, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Newell. Solicitor's report, Mr. Brungo.
A written report was distributed to the board prior to this evening's meeting. If you have any questions about that, I can answer them at a later time, but that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Brungo. PTEA representative, Mr. Lanier.
Just one thing, I'd like to know what the board's opinion is on the state movement to abolish the property tax. If you guys have any opinions on that, it's probably not going to happen, but...
As a board member or a homeowner?
As, well, how about both?
I'll share my point of view. Unfortunately, Penn Trafford, the rate that we get reimbursed from the state because of our student population is so terrible that I don't know if it would be any worse for us right now. So as a property owner, it'd be a good thing. On the school board, it's depending, but I hate to say this, the way we're funded right now, I don't think it could get any worse.
The concept of any change in tax structure concerns me because it's never a tendency to be less taxing, tendency to be more. So I think it could be a good thing if we could get it off of the properties, but I don't know.
It doesn't seem to be a very stable way to run a district either, because, you know, tax receipts are going to go up and down every year.
I don't know what a good formula would be to get it off the properties, but I personally would like to see it off the properties because we have too many people on fixed incomes that are struggling in other ways that they don't need that struggle, but I don't know what would be an option.
And you also have many people who do not have children or even grandchildren in the school district, too.
About 80%.
Yeah.
John, I know that the statewide business officials group is opposed to the shift. One thing that you have to recognize is that currently businesses pay about $3 billion in property taxes. They'll only pay about $1 billion in additional sales tax. So you have an automatic shift of $2 billion from businesses on to homeowners. I never trust sending money to Harrisburg and expecting to get the same amount.
Yeah, because they're gonna
back.
They're gonna control things.
It's all gonna get shipped to
There's no doubt about
Southeast
it.
Pennsylvania. You can be assured of that. And you're right in that, you know, sales tax and income tax are greatly dependent on the economy. And as the economy goes up and down, so will the collection. So it's very unpredictable, it's very unstable. I'm all in favor of coming up with a mechanism to give some relief to senior citizens on their property taxes, but this is not the way to do it.
They'd fully fund the 50% that they should be funding, and we wouldn't have this discussion, but it keeps slipping backwards every year.
Especially for us.
Correct.
Well, and there's, as Brett pointed out, there's no guarantee we're gonna get any more than we're getting now. We'll probably get less.
That's my fear.
We're not geographically in the right spot, that's for sure.
We're not, and we don't hit any of the
Checks.
checks that they're looking for, absolutely.
We're gonna go east.
So.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Renier. With that, I make a motion for adjournment.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Kachasik. Second by Mr. Nemec. Meeting adjourned at 7:45.